And Graeme Forsyth back here on the network for another edition of Coffee with Graeme. If you guys tuned into Tuesday's live broadcast of Coffee with Graeme, I was joined by captain of the Fort Garry Twins, Seth Nicholls, and we got about 22 minutes into the interview at the end of it. We weren't able to finish it with Seth because something happened with the connection. So we're reshooting the interview, the whole thing for you guys today. We're going to finish what we started last Tuesday, and Seth is a third-year player for the Fort Garry Twins. He plays in the MMJHL, and their league is on pause right now due to COVID-19, the restrictions in Winnipeg right now moving into that code red level. Unfortunately, all the rinks, all the recreational centers shut down in the Winnipeg area, so that means the MMJHL is on hold, and that means Seth's season is on hold, and he has nothing better to do today, I guess, than to join me on this edition of Coffee with Graeme. Seth, hopefully the connection is a bit better today. It looks like it is, but how are you doing today on this Thursday afternoon? I mean, the interview is going to be coming out on Tuesday. I know that you were talking to me on Tuesday after we did the interview about how you're going on a camping trip in this next week, so I'm sure you're excited for that. But how are you doing on this lovely afternoon here in Winnipeg, Manitoba?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to just getting out of the city soon and just going on a nice trip. Uh,
Yeah.
just a bit remote and then going back to the city, hopefully when the 2 week code red is done.
Yeah, for sure. And you big hunter, or is this your first time going hunting?
I've been going hunting since I was about 11. With my family, just go about once or twice a year. Just it's about southern Manitoba, right by Morden. We just go, yeah, just with some family members, just go hunting for deer.
Nice. I'm sure you're excited to get out of the city, get away from all the stuff that's going on here. I mean, it's a lot of negative energy in the city right now with COVID-19, us being in quarantine. But I'm sure like you said, you're excited to get out of the city for a while.
Exactly. Yeah, it should be fun for sure.
Yeah, awesome. So we're going to not talk about hunting anymore. We're going to move into hockey and just your 3-year Fort Garry Twin now. But before you joined the Twins, you had a 3-year high school career with Fort Richmond Collegiate. I mean, you played 3 years there. I mean, looking at your stats, you were a consistent player, 70 games played. You were in the lineup consistently. I mean, 69 points, 34 goals, 35 assists, and also a big penalty minute guy. And your time there, but what do you remember the most from your high school career and just the memories you made there?
Yeah, it was definitely fun all 3 years. 3 years, three coaches. It's a fun time there, and the most I remembered was just all the friendships we had. Just being able to play with your friends that you grew up your whole life with, and making a lot of memories there. Being with them every day with school, and then at the rink as well. After it was a lot of fun for sure. That's the one thing I loved about high school hockey.
Yeah, and like you said, like spending time with your friends. I mean, you're in school, you see them every day, you get to play with these guys, and I'm sure that built such a great bond between you and your teammates at that time.
Oh yeah, a lot of the guys, like I said, were I've known them since grade one, and we grew up through all the schools together. So it was just nice to. A lot of those guys they didn't go on to play junior hockey, and that was their last little bit. So it was nice to play with them for their last little bit, and it was a real bond you form in high school hockey with just playing with your best friends for so long.
Yeah, and just going into your career in high school hockey, I mean, you were a consistent player. I mean, consistency is such a huge part of your game last season when you had your career year, but just what were the things that, in your opinion, made you that consistent player back in high school?
Yeah, I guess it was just I think I worked throughout high school just a bit on my game every off season and during the season, just working and making sure that I just be competitive every day. And yeah, just given the right opportunities, being put on good lines, and just having a good team around me made me for sure consistent.
Yeah, and I mean, you said you played with guys like Jared Bucci last year and Cole Zadro, and those guys were the top dogs on your team last year, and you're able to play with players like that. And I'm feeling like it stems all the way back to your high school career, like you said, you play with a bunch of different guys, how you're able to adapt to a lot of situations out there.
Yeah, I definitely like playing with a lot of players. And then just obviously when you play with better players, you're gonna see more opportunities on the ice in the offensive zone. So I feel like I just had a lot more opportunities in high school playing with a couple better players, and then same with last year. I was just playing with good players that it was nice to just be with them and help me get a couple points, I guess.
Yeah, and you saw throughout your high school career, you're able to grow because you were put in those opportunities, so it made you really be able to grow as a player and reach that next level like you wanted.
Yeah, for sure. Being able to, I grew a bit in high school and then also hit the gym a bit, so put on a couple inches and pounds. So it was nice to see a big progression in high school from where I started to where I ended. So it was nice to see that and help me for sure join the junior hockey career.
Yeah, and, just looking at your stats here, I mean, 96 penalty minutes in your career, so there are some times where I'm guessing you were taking some pretty, hefty penalty minutes, but was that due to you being a physical player, or were they more unlucky penalties?
I think yeah, it was more just being too physical. Yeah, when for sure my last couple years in high school, I was one of the bigger kids out there, and it just yeah, it seemed like I was just wouldn't say it was my fault or the ref's fault, but it was just being physical and just always being in the play caused me to get a couple more penalty minutes per game. My last couple of years there.
Yeah, and then, I mean, in 2017-18 in your last season in high school, you got called up to play with the Fort Garry Twins, and you said to me on Tuesday that you were there in the tryout process with them, and you said, like, I mean, looking at your stat sheet that year, I mean, you played a fair bit amount of games with them, 13 games played, you even put up a goal and an assist in that season, but what was that experience like back then? I mean, you're coming in, you're playing guys that are much older than you, some guys in their 20s. I'm sure that was such a surreal experience for you even back then.
Yeah, exactly. So high school, yeah, I was one of the stronger kids out there, and then going into the junior hockey where you're 16 going against a 21-year-old. Obviously, you're going to be smaller and not as strong as well. So that was the big moment there when I realized that I wasn't the stronger guy anymore, and playing those games and those practices at the start. It was surreal for sure. Just noticing how I wasn't able to knock anyone over off the puck, or I couldn't be the strong guy anymore.
And that kind of let you know that even though, you were a strong guy in high school, you were the bigger guy on your team in that last year, you figured out that there's like you did in your high school career, adapting to the game, you figure out that you had to adapt your game even more when getting to that next level in junior hockey.
Yeah, that off season for sure. That season where I was in between high school and junior hockey, that one forced me to definitely put on some more weight for sure. So I knew that going into the next season, I would have to be stronger than I was already or bigger. And yeah, so I was just forced to just get better and faster and everything, just so I could keep up with the new level of hockey I was playing.
Yeah, and what was the moment where you realized, like, "Man, I'm playing at a more physical level now, I gotta keep my head up." Like, what was your welcoming moment into, like, the MMJHL where you figured out, like, "Man, this is for real, it's more physical out here, I gotta keep my head on a swivel."
Yeah, it was my first game. We were going to Stonewall, and there's this guy named Chase Faulkner on the other team, and he was about 260, 6'4". He was just a big guy, and everyone was talking in the room before the game how this guy was big and no one could touch him, and how he ruled the ice.
Yeah.
And I remember my first time on the ice against him, I just took a full run at him. It was 10 or 15 strides, and this guy's standing still, and I thought I had him for sure. And I just fell right down, and it hurt so much. And he didn't move at all. And then when I got up, he gave me a good cross check to the back and told me
Yeah.
not to do it again. And that was the big moment where I was like, yeah, I'm not the strong guy anymore.
And Graeme Forsyth back here on this edition of Coffee with Graham. I'm joined by Seth Nicholls. captain for the Fort Garry Twins of the MMJHL, joining me on today's edition of the show. We were just talking to Seth before the break about his career in high school. We were talking about his hunting trip that he's going on for the next week or so here. He's going to get out of the city. It's going to be a good time for him, get away from all the stuff that's going on here in Winnipeg with us going into Code Red. I mean, this is it's a trying time for all of us for sure here, for sure with this quarantine, but it's going to be nice for Seth to get out of the city. But yeah, we're going to talk about Seth's career with the Twins so far. He got called up in 2017-18 for 13 games with the team. We were talking about that a bit before the break, but we're going to move into his first full season with the team, his first of 3 seasons. He's played 2 full seasons so far. He's in his third season now. But just talking about your first season as a Fort Garry Twin, Seth, I mean, you played 45 games that season, 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points. You had 38 penalty minutes. But I mean, you got some exposure to the MMJHL level even more in that 2018-19 season. I mean, even though you might have not been playing the big minutes, I'm sure that was a learning year for you.
Yeah, that was a fun year for sure, being the rookie there, and I played every game, and wasn't like you said, wasn't a lot of minutes every game, but it was fun that I could play every game and more than the year before. Yeah, it's definitely that was a good year for sure. I love that one.
Yeah, and with you not playing the same minutes that you have been in this year and then in your second year, I'm sure that your role looked a bit different than it has been in the last 2 years of your career.
Yeah, that one I was definitely the fourth line guy. Definitely not the power play person that year. I was being a fourth line player and putting us out there just to cause havoc, and they weren't expecting goals from us at all that year on our line.
Yeah, and really that goes back to you being that versatile player back in high school where you said you adapted to many situations with many players, but you said your role was more of an energy line role guy.
Yeah, that whole line we were just meant to just go out there and just ban a couple bodies, and I think our line had a decent amount of fights that year too, for sure. And yeah, like you said, it just had to adapt from that wasn't what I was a lot in high school, be on the fourth line, but then when you came to the league, just had to adapt for the new role.
And was that tough at the start to adapt to that role? Knowing, I mean, you're a rookie coming in, but really, I mean, you know that you have the skill. You know that you've done it before in high school where you are that guy that your teammates look to step up. But you coming in as a rookie, did you kind of, struggle with the fact that you were playing in this role at the start, or did you get used to it pretty fast and you accepted it pretty fast?
I feel like I accepted it pretty fast. I actually didn't mind this role at all. It was a lot of fun. I remember my first game that I could wear a visor. I remember saying, "Yeah, can I fight then?" And they're like, "Yeah, if you want." So my first game that I was allowed to, I remember I fought, and that was a pretty fun one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind that role at all. It was fun to just be the guy out there causing havoc and getting fights and hits and everything.
Yeah. And I was talking to my uncle Mark, Mark Belanger. He's also your video guy. He does the film for your team, and he was telling me about you said you're a tough kid, and said that I should ask you about how you feel about wearing face shields this year because I do feel like you are a pretty big fighter. But how's that transition been wearing these face shields this year instead of wearing the traditional visor?
Yeah, no, it definitely is not that good. I don't like it at all. I miss the visors for sure.
Yeah.
Being the face mask, like you said, there's no more fights, or it's not as it just doesn't seem as like on edge anymore. Just with the visor or with the face mask, the visor is a lot more fun. The fighting is a big thing that got taken out this year.
Yeah. So you find there's kind of a maybe culture change is the right word, but definitely a change throughout the league of feeling like it's not maybe not the same as it used to be in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a couple plays in this season so far that it's been short, but like just a couple of dirty hits that in the past there'd be a fight for sure coming out of it, but now that there's no visors, there's been no fights, and it's just a little grabbing going on now, and yeah, it's just not the same for sure.
Yeah, and how have you felt like because fights they could be used to really lift the team's spirits. And with that taken out of the game this season due to these face shields, I mean, that's not in the game. So how have you found that the ways of, adapting to finding ways to get your team boosted, a boost of energy?
Yeah, that was definitely a big way to get the energy going, but now you have to find new ways. I guess hitting's gonna be the new one, just a big hit out there, and then like a goal score or a big block. There's gonna be different ways, same
Yeah.
ways as before, but I guess yeah, hitting or fighting was definitely the biggest one, and it sucks
Yeah.
that you can't do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into, I mean, that has to do with this year, your third year with the team. You're also wearing the C this season. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But just talking about, you made the playoffs back in your first full season with the team in your rookie year. So what was that like, playing playoff hockey for the very first time at this level?
Yeah, that was a fun one. Playoff hockey is such a different game than just regular hockey. Playoff hockey is so much more fun. That was a good year for sure. We had a good team that playoff year too. We got eliminated though, which was too bad. But yeah, that was a good playoffs.
And just going into your 2019-2020 season, which was last year, you wore an A last season. I mean, coming off of your rookie season where you're a guy who's playing on an energy role on a line, a fourth line, and you had glimpses of consistency in that year, but for you to be chosen as an assistant captain in your second year as a Twin in this league that you're just getting used to, you had a year under your belt. How did that feel, getting to get that recognition of wearing a letter on your jersey?
Yeah, like you said, yeah, it was a lot of recognition. I feel like it was hard work that went noticed. Uh, it felt good for sure to just see that the hard work paid off to be able to wear a letter that last year. And yeah, I felt good about it.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to feel good about last season because you had a big boost in point production. You put up 40 points in 45 games, almost a point per game, and your playmaking ability really thrived in that season. Would you say that your playmaking ability was probably the biggest part of your point production in that season?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I have a pretty good keen for passing, and when I was able to play with Cole Zadro and Jared Bucci, shooters like that, it was nice to.
Yeah.
They were always getting open, so I could always put the puck on their stick, and they would find the back of the net. So yeah, definitely my playmaking grew a lot last year. It really showed out for sure.
And obviously, playing with those guys helped your point production so much. But for you, being able to boost your point production, I'm sure that a lot of work went into the off season going into that 2019-2020 season last year. So what were the things that you really took a focus to in your off season to improve as a player?
Yeah, like I said before, I still was when from my rookie year to the last year was one of the smaller guys still, and I knew that I had to get bigger there and had to get faster. And I just worked on the off season about getting bigger and faster and stronger. And so then when I came into last year, I think I just had more confidence too. Was a big thing with all these new skill sets I was bringing in. Confidence was a big thing that I could say like, oh yeah, I think I can play on this first line here. So then that led to a bit more production.
And was it a process of you working your way up on the line, or did they stick you on that first line with Zadro and Bucci at the very start?
It took a couple games, I think, if I remember correctly, that it was third or second line at the first game, and then 5 games in, it was second line, second power play, and then it's probably around 8 to 10 games in the season that they put me with Jared Bucci and Cole Zadro and on the power play, and then we just stuck with that for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked about how, I mean, looking at these guys' points, Bucci put up 74 points, led your team in points last year, and Zadro put up 40 goals and had 62 points. And of course, you were third on the team in points. But I mean, you're playing with guys that are highly skilled, like Bucci and Zadro. But why did you think that you fit so well in that line? Would you say that it was because of your playmaking ability?
I think it was the playmaking ability, and then just bring that energy that I brought the year before, uh, being the first guy into the corner so I could win the puck battle and then give it to one of them
Yeah.
was a big thing too. being I feel like I was the hard worker there and giving them the puck so they could do what they could do, and I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah. And just going into this season, I mean, you have last season canceled due to the remainder of the season got canceled. You guys didn't get to play in playoffs due to the cancellation of the season due to COVID-19. I mean, we're seeing the same trend this season right now. I saw on the website that the games are postponed until further notice in the MMJHL, but what was your feeling of getting the games canceled last season, not being able to potentially go on a playoff run after you work so hard and put in so much work in the offseason to get better, and just the type of season you're having too? I'm sure you're really disappointed last year.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. We were told we were actually dressed for that first playoff game. We were in the room, and then the announcement came out that the whole season was postponed, and then it was being canceled. But it was heartbreaking for me, and I'm sure the whole team too. That we thought we had a good team that year, and we thought we were going to put on a good run because we had a good push right before the playoffs. And then it was just a bit disappointing to just get shut down right before we could start that playoff push.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into this season and the next part of this interview. It's going to be not too much longer in this interview, but I'm with Seth Nicholls, captain of the Fort Garry Twins for this season. I'm going to ask Seth in the next part of this interview about what it feels to be a captain, wearing a C this year, upgrading from a C, wearing an A last year, upgrading to a C this year. But we're going to hear from our other sponsor, TOVI Hockey, that has decided to support and sponsor today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. We're going to be right back with Seth Nicholls. We're going to talk about this season, the first 4 games he's played with the Twins this year, and how the things have kind of rolled out for his team here on Coffee with Graeme with your host, Graeme Forsyth. Graeme Forsyth back here on the network with Seth Nicholls, captain of the Fort Garry Twins in the MMJHL. Seth, going into his 3rd year this season, started his 3rd season. First 4 games of the year was going fairly well for his team. I mean, they won 2 games, lost 2 games, but then cancellation came in for the foreseeable future for now in the MMJHL due to COVID-19, due to us going into the code red zone here in the Winnipeg Health region, here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. But for right now, Seth has nothing better to do than to join me on today's show. And so far, we've been talking to Seth about his career in hockey so far before joining the Twins and his career with the Twins up to this point. But now we're going to talk about the present, the 3rd year with this team, and Seth upgrading from wearing an A to a C this season. So he's the big captain on the team. And Seth, how does it feel to be wearing a C this season? Just all the responsibility that you've had to take in this season.
Yeah, there's been more responsibility to it, and I feel like players look up to you a bit more, especially the rookies. But I feel like I like it for sure. Feels good. Like I said, with the A, it's a bit of recognition, a bit of hard work that I feel like it paid off, and I feel like it was the same this year. But yeah, it brings a bit more to the game every shift. When everyone's looking at you, you have to just make sure that you're trying your best, and it just forces you to not take any shifts off now.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, about how it's kind of, you said that it kind of feels like second nature out there and you don't really worry about it on the ice. Do you feel like that's why you've had success as a leader throughout your career, is that you don't really worry about the burden of, not the burden, but the responsibility as much out there? I mean, you try to not let it bother you as much about wearing that C.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's a big thing is just keep playing how I'm playing, and not worrying about what's on my sweater, no matter what the letter it is. And I feel like I'm just playing the same as I always have. And it's nice because I feel like the rookies still look up to me, and I'm just hoping to keep playing how I always have.
And you talk about your off season coming into your 2019-2020 season, which was last year where you had a career year. So You talked about how you're focusing on getting bigger and getting stronger. So what was that kind of the same focus this year, or were you focusing on other things?
Yeah, I feel like I'm at a good point in the for being physical now in the junior hockey league that can worry about other things. So me and a couple teammates, we thought we had a pretty good team this year, and we wanted to make a good run. We got together in the summer, and we focused on about other things like just agility and speed this time, and just overall just endurance. So yeah, we just took a different spin to it in the off season this time.
Yeah, and so that was nice getting to bond with teammates even before the season started. I mean, they were teammates that you played with before, but getting to kind of build that bond off the ice that really translates to on the ice this season.
Yeah, I feel like just to have a good team, you got to have a good brothership in the room, and we definitely have that right now. So it's nice to show up to the rink and just be friends with everyone. And so it's tough right now to go out to bars after because
Yeah.
they're closed. But when they open back up, I'm sure it's easy to go out with these guys. They're such great guys.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I mean, we got a new coach this season in Jamie Corbett. I had Jamie on in the show this in the summer. It was about late July. It aired on August. I think it was like August 3rd or something. Don't quote me on that, but early August is when it aired. And Jamie, I mean, he's got a great resume as a coach. He's been everywhere basically, and just for you to have a coach come in this season for your team. I mean, you experienced it in high school, how you said there was a different coach every single year, but for you to get this coaching change for this team at this point in your playing career, and just for Jamie, the experience that he brings, I'm sure that you feel it's beneficial for your team to have a guy like that this season.
Yeah, I think Jamie's a really good coach, and it was good for him to come in this year. Like you said, he's got a lot of experience, and it definitely shows in the room before every game. Or before every practice, we're always working on something else, and he'll watch the film a lot, and he'll see something that we're not doing exactly how he wants to. So next practice we'll change it, and then come that next game will be fixed. And yeah, he definitely brings a lot of experience and a lot of leadership to the room, which is nice. It was a nice change, and to have him as coach.
Yeah, and what do you think has been the biggest thing that he's come in and changed this season? I know that his system is probably different than a system that you've played in before on this team, but he told me that he watched a few of your games last season and said he didn't like the attention to detail. Do you find that those things like the attention to detail in the system has changed for the better this season so far?
Yeah, definitely. He's changed almost all of our systems, and like you said, the attention to detail. He'd just be honest in practice about if he wants one thing changed, then
Yeah.
we're just gonna be working on that almost all practice to make sure that next game that little small detail is just gonna be fixed. So it was nice to have all those exhibition games this year to be able to work on things, and so we got our systems all tweaked down now. The season's
Yeah.
ready to go. I think we have the systems ready.
And it's been a positive relationship, I'm guessing, between you and Jamie so far.
Yeah, we met once in the summer when he was first named coach, and just he wanted to meet some of the new players, so said hi to him, and then yeah, he's been a good coach to me ever since. So yeah, it's a great relationship.
Yeah, and just talking about, I mean, it's a bit different this year with COVID. I'm guessing with you guys being able to meet for video sessions. Are you guys able to meet in person as a team?
Yeah, we've done it a couple times where we just get a couple rooms at our home rink, and we bring a TV into the dressing room, and we just do the video session there, and then we do a lot online now. We have
Yeah,
just yeah, we get sent emails or texts of the videos and what they're working at. It's definitely a lot different than last year where it was so easy to just meet in the rink and do it there, but we're still able to do it.
yeah. And how do you find these video sessions and how they are really beneficial for your team out there? Because you can learn so much from really watching film off the ice.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just watching yourself or watching other players on your team, just you can watch good examples, and it's so much more beneficial just being able to watch your game and just seeing what you can do to change, and
Yeah.
and yeah, just seeing all these examples are great.
Yeah. And Jamie said that he thought that this team would be a hard team to play against this season, that you guys would be competitive in every game. Basically, just paraphrasing him there, basically what he said. But what type of team do you feel that you guys have this year compared to last year?
I think we got a more balanced team for sure. Last year, just had a couple, just had a couple players that put up points. This year, it's almost every line is going out there and being a threat physically and offensively. Then defense, we have three, all three lines of defenders going out there and being a top line defense that they can be. And then, yeah, goalies too. We just have everyone that's buying in right now, and our whole team is just so depth now.
Yeah, and just talking about that depth, and I remember talking to Jamie about it, and I said that it's hard to replace a guy like Cole Zadro out there. I'm guessing because he scored 4 goals, he scored the bulkier goals, and then you had a guy like Jared Bucci. But I remember talking about how the depth would probably be the most important thing for you guys to find offense this season, and it seems like you guys have been able to do that. So you find that the team as a whole, with the new additions that you brought in this season up front, have been able to really adjust smoothly to the game and have been able to kind of step up and not exactly fill the role that Zadro and Bucci had, the roles that they played, but kind of step up to the plate and produce so far this season.
Yeah, I think with the depth that we brought, we knew that we had 4 lines now that would be offensive. So I think that's what we did was we changed the systems a lot so that we didn't just have a really heavy hitting like first 2 lines going out there and going for goals, but we have the system now where just all 4 lines are doing the same thing because they all can go out there and score goals.
Yeah, and for you personally this season, I mean, you're off to a consistent start, 2 goals, 1 assist in 4 games. But what have you liked from your games so far this year compared to other years?
I think just the yeah, just being able to know that I'm going out there. I just like how I'm able to go out there every time just with all 4 lines and being able to just put up points and just knowing that all 4 lines after me will just be following up with a good shift as well. It's pretty nice.
And that was Seth Nicholls, captain of the Fort Garry Twins, joining me on today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. And if you guys weren't aware of the mistake I made early on in the show, about a minute in, my apologies for this one. I said camping trip instead of hunting trip. It went right over my head. I apologize for that one. I just screwed that one up royally, to be honest with you guys. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. You can be sure to check out the next edition of Coffee with Graeme this Thursday at 10:30 a.m. It's our continuing coverage of the MFHL U18 AAA season. We got a great lineup of guests joining me on the show this Thursday at 10:30 a.m. all across the Amateur Sports TV network. You can check it out on YouTube and Facebook at Amateur Sports TV. Also, be sure to stay tuned for these 2 shows tonight at 7 p.m. We got On the Ice with Theo Tekuluk airing on the network, and then at 9 p.m. for pro sports coverage, we got Crunch Time with the boys, and that's going to be not only on Facebook and YouTube, but Periscope as well. And you can check out all our shows all across the network if you want to stay up to date when our shows are coming out here on the network, other than this one and the ones that I just mentioned. Be sure to follow us on Amateur Sports TV on Instagram and Twitter. You can also stay up to date with when our shows are coming out on Facebook as well. So that's going to do for today's edition of Coffee with Graeme. I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth, signing off. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.